It is among the peculiar fortunes of my life that I should have been permitted to record so many of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, whose genius for observation and deduction has seldom, if ever, been equal. Many of these cases have lain unpublished for years, whether through the delicacy of those involved or the simple eccentricity of my friend, who often regarded publicity with disdain. Whoa! But there are others hidden in my notes which I now feel compelled to bring to light. One of these is what I have called the adventure of the Doing Suitcase, a mystery that began with the most unexpected visitation to our lodgings in Baker Street on a fog shrouded evening in the autumn of 1887. Holmes was, at that time, immersed in one of his chemical experiments involving a retort of bubbling liquid that hissed ominously whenever he added a pinch of some crystalline powder. The air of our sitting room was thick with an acrid smoke which brought tears to my eyes and compelled me to retreat behind my medical journal, though my friend seemed quite oblivious to its effects. His long fingers moved with the delicacy of a surgeon as he measured, stirred, and observed the strange reaction, humming to himself in that low tone he reserved for moments of complete concentration. Holmes, I really must protest that your laboratory practices will be the ruin of both our lungs. Roger, this room is already close to unbearable. It bearable. Some
My dear Watson, a man's lungs are robust enough to withstand a little chlorine vapor. Whereas the mind is far more fragile and requires constant exercise if it is not to wither into flabbiness.
Yet you will forgive me if I confess that I do not see how breathing poison gas can possibly improve one's mental faculties.
Ah, but there you err, my good fellow. This experiment is a test of certain phosphorescent compounds, and from it we may gain an insight into the curious behavior of matter when stimulated by chemical energy. In such investigations lies the seed of deductions which may one day solve a case of crime most singular.
Holmes's pronouncements, as ever, struck me as at once maddening and profound. I had learned long ago that it was useless to debate his peculiar hobbies. It was at that moment, however, that our conversation was interrupted by a loud knock at the door below. Mrs. Hudson's familiar tread ascended the staircase, and presently she ushered into our room a visitor whose appearance was so remarkable that I instantly set down my journal and gave him my full attention. The man was tall, though slightly stooped, with garments of fine cut but sadly neglected condition. His hair, which might once have been fair, was streaked with grey, and his eyes darted about the room with a nervous energy that bespoke intense agitation. Most striking of all, however, was the object he carried, a large leather suitcase, which he bore with both hands as though it were a treasure of immense value or a burden of unbearable weight.
Gentlemen, forgive me for intruding at such an hour, but I have come to you in desperation. My name is Arthur Phelps, and I am in dire need of Mr. Sherlock Holmes's advice.
You could not have come at a better time, Mr. Phelps. Pray be seated, and do not hesitate to place that curious case upon the table. My friend and colleague, Dr. Watson, will vouch that no circumstance, however strange, is without its proper explanation, if only we apply the powers of observation and deduction.
You seem in considerable distress, sir. Perhaps, if you begin at the beginning, we may the better understand what assistance you require. Mr. Arthur Phelps placed the suitcase on our table with an audible thud. I was startled to perceive that a faint glow seemed to emanate from the seams of the leather, as though some hidden light pulsed within. The effect was ghostly and most uncanny, casting a pale radiance upon Holmes's thin, hawk-like features.
You observe it at once, Doctor. That glow has been the torment of my existence these past 3 nights. It began after the case came into my possession, and I swear to you, I have not dared to open it.
Surely you know what the suitcase contains?
That, sir, is the riddle. The case was delivered to my residence without explanation, sealed and addressed in my name. There was no letter, no sender, and when the lights of my chamber were extinguished, I perceived this infernal glow seeping from within.
Fascinating. The glow, Watson, is unmistakably chemical in nature. Phosphorescence, perhaps, or some other luminescent reaction confined within. Observe the manner in which the seams pulse rhythmically, almost as though the thing were breathing. That detail alone rules out any ordinary cause.
Holmes, I cannot deny the effect is unsettling. It seems unnatural, as though the case harbored some living creature.
And yet, my good fellow, to suppose it harbors life is to leap beyond the evidence. Mr. Phelps, you say this case was delivered to you. By what means precisely?
By a cabman, sir, who claimed he had been instructed by a gentleman he could not describe. He handed me the case, accepted no fee, and vanished before I could press him with questions.
Hmm. A cabman who accepts no fare is an anomaly indeed. Note that, Watson. It suggests the fellow was in the employ of another, perhaps under strict orders to deliver his charge without engaging in conversation.
And since then, you have not opened the suitcase, though it bears your name?
Well, no, doctor. My courage failed me. At first I thought it some ghastly trick, but each night the glow intensifies, and last evening I swear I heard a faint humming from within, like the murmur of bees behind a wall.
Most intriguing. Tell me, Mr. Phelps, what is your occupation?
I am employed at the Foreign Office, sir, in a rather humble capacity. Though I am sometimes entrusted with confidential documents,
Ah, that alters the complexion of the case considerably. You will agree, Watson, that the sudden arrival of a mysterious case addressed to a government official must be weighed in the balance of international intrigue.
Indeed, Holmes. I cannot help but think of spies and agents seeking to convey some perilous device.
Just so. Mr. Phelps, had you enemies, either personal or political?
none that I know of, sir. My life is of the quietest, and I have never sought prominence.
Yet prominence may have sought you if you have handled certain papers of value. Very well. If the first step is clear, Watson, hand me my lens. We shall subject this suitcase to the most careful examination. Though I warn you both, I will not yet open it until I have exhausted every possible observation of its exterior.
Holmes bent over the suitcase with the absorption of a naturalist inspecting some rare specimen. His keen eyes scanned every inch of the leather surface, the stitching, the locks, and the faintly glowing seams. He ran his fingers lightly along the edges, then held his lens close to the lock, muttering to himself in rapid phrases I could scarcely follow.
Note the absence of scratches about the lock, Watson. This tells us that our client has spoken the truth. He has not attempted to force it. Observe also this faint residue upon the handle, a powdery substance, faintly luminous in its own right. This is no mere trick of reflection, but a true phosphor compound, of which very few are known.
Then the glow is intentional, Holmes, a device prepared by some chemist?
Precisely so. The question becomes, what motive lies behind such an elaborate contrivance? To inspire fear, to conceal a treasure, or to serve as a signal visible at night?
You speak of it so calmly, Mr. Holmes, while to me it has been a torment beyond endurance.
Calmness, my dear sir, is the true ally of reason. Fear is the enemy of deduction. Rest assured, before the night is over, we shall know far more of this singular object than we do now.
Holmes straightened at last, his eyes alight with the fire of discovery. But, and I could see that to him, the glowing suitcase was not an object of terror, but of fascination, a challenge to be unraveled by the tools of science and logic. He moved to the mantel, lit his pipe with deliberate care, and sent up 3 puffs of smoke before speaking again.
Hmm. Mr. Phelps, I must ask whether any of your colleagues at the Foreign Office might bear ill will toward you or be tempted by bribery. Even the humblest clerk may stumble upon a document whose value is beyond reckoning to a foreign power.
I have considered that possibility, Mr. N.L. Mabel, Citriophore, Holmes, but I cannot think of one who would single me out in such a manner.
And yet here we are, with an inexplicable object thrust into your possession. No coincidence, Watson. In matters of this sort, coincidence is the mask of design.
Then you suspect espionage, Holmes?
I suspect nothing I observe, and what I observe is that the sender of this suitcase has gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure it reaches Mr. Phelps intact, unmolested, and glowing with an aura designed to confound. That suggests intelligence and deliberate planning. What we must uncover is the purpose.
The glow from the suitcase seemed to brighten as Holmes spoke, as though mocking our ignorance. Mr. Phelps sat wringing his hands, his face pale in the ghastly light. For my part, I could not suppress a shiver, though I told myself it was only the late autumn chill seeping through the window panes. The reader will recall that we had reached the point where Mr. Arthur Phelps, a clerk in the Foreign Office, had placed upon our table a suitcase that glowed with a mysterious inner light. Holmes, after a minute examination, had pronounced the effect chemical in origin, though its purpose remained uncertain. The tension of that first evening did not diminish. Indeed, as the clock chimed 9, I felt that the very walls of Baker Street vibrated with the unspoken promise of danger. Holmes alone appeared supremely at ease, puffing upon his pipe while Mr. Devilish Desham Phelps sat in visible torment.
Watson, be so good as to record in your notebook the precise description of our client's visitor. The cabman. You will recall, Mr. Phelps, every detail you can of this mysterious fellow, no matter how trivial.
It was dark, sir, and the fog thick, but I remember his voice, rough, London born, and tinged with cockney. His coat was of shabby brown, and he wore a cap pulled low. Beyond that, I cannot say.
That will suffice. A cabman of the old school, no doubt. Note it down, Watson. The absence of payment is key. Our driver was employed under orders, and orders always leave a trail. Cabs may vanish into the fog, but their numbers remain written in the ledgers of the city.
Then you propose to track him through the registry?
Precisely. Tomorrow, Watson, we shall make a pilgrimage to the cab yard. But before that, there is work to be done this evening. I must learn whether the glow is merely surface phosphorescence or if it originates from within the case itself.
You will not open it, Mr. Holmes?
Not yet, my dear sir. To open a sealed container without knowledge of its contents is folly of the worst order. It may be harmless, or it may be a device contrived to injure. Patience is the ally of safety.
Holmes drew from his cabinet a small glass prism and a handheld spectroscope of his own design. He set these upon the table beside the suitcase and adjusted the lamp so that the faint glow from the seams might be refracted through the instrument. I watched, fascinated, as he bent his keen eyes to the lens.
As I suspected, Watson, the glow is of a narrow spectral band. It corresponds to the emission of phosphorus compounds, but the purity suggests refinement beyond the reach of an amateur. Someone with training in chemistry has arranged this. Observe the steadiness of the glow. It does not fade as common phosphors do, but maintains a regular intensity. Ah, this is deliberate.
Then we are dealing with a chemist of some ability, Holmes.
More than ability, precision that limits the field of possible culprits. Not many in London could contrive such an effect.
But what purpose could such a strange contrivance serve?
We must resist the temptation to leap ahead of the evidence, Mr. Phelps. Purpose will emerge in due time. For now, the glow itself is a clue, an unmistakable signature. Someone wanted you, and only you, to have this suitcase and to be tormented by its appearance.
The unease in the room was palpable. I confess that the ghastly glow seemed to have settled into my very nerves, and I could not shake the impression that the suitcase was something alive. Holmes, however, resumed his seat with perfect composure.
Watson, tomorrow you and I shall rise early. There is a cabman to be found. Mr. Salmon. Phelps, I advise you to remain here tonight. You will be safer under my roof than in your own lodgings, which may well be under observation. The case will remain here, under my protection.
I am grateful beyond words, Mr. Holmes.
Thus it was arranged. That night, I slept fitfully in the guest chamber, for I could not banish the eerie image of the glowing case from my thoughts. It seemed to pulse in my dreams like a phantom heart beating in the silence of the night. The following morning dawned bleak and drizzly, yet Holmes was in his element. He strode forth into the mist with his coat buttoned to the chin and his cane tapping briskly upon the pavement. I accompanied him faithfully, though with less enthusiasm, and we soon reached a yard where dozens of hansom cabs stood in grim procession, their drivers lounging about with pipes and mugs of tea.
Good morning, gentlemen. I am in search of a driver who, 3 nights past, conveyed a parcel to Bedford Square without accepting a fare. A singular circumstance, and one which must surely have been remarked upon.
Well, now, Governor, that rings a bell. It does. Jim Hardy, that be the chap, took a queer box to some gentleman's door and wouldn't take so much as a penny for his trouble. Said his instructions was clear as daylight.
Mick. Excellent. And where may I find this Mr. Hardy?
You'll catch him of an evening at the Red Lion Tavern, down near Holborn.
My thanks. You have rendered a service to justice today.
With this clue in hand, Holmes led me away, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Holmes, do you truly believe this cabman will yield us the truth?
Every man yields the truth, Watson, though it must sometimes be coaxed by the right method. Tonight, we shall pay a visit to the Red Lion.
Evening found us in that smoky establishment, the air thick with the odor of ale and the clamor of voices. In one dim corner sat a burly fellow with a cap pulled low, whose weathered face betrayed a life upon the streets. Holmes approached with his customary directness.
You are Jim Hardy, I believe, that cabman who delivered the case to Bedford Square 3 nights ago?
Aye, that's me. And what of it, sir?
What of it is that the case you delivered is of the utmost importance. Tell me who employed you, and you may save yourself considerable trouble.
Trouble, is it? Well, I know naught of the matter. A gent with a muffler over his face hailed me near King's Cross, put the case in me cab, and told me to deliver it to that address. He paid me handsome too, more than a month's fares. Said not to take payment at the door. That's the long and short of it.
Did you catch his voice, his manner, anything distinctive?
Deep voice, foreign perhaps, though I couldn't swear. Walked with a bit of a limp, I think. Ep to the shadows. Boob.
Foreign and limping, most instructive. Did you see from which train he came at King's Cross?
That I did not, sir. He was already on the pavement when I arrived.
Very well, Mr. Hardy. Your honesty does you credit. Keep yourself available, for the matter may yet require further testimony.
Holmes pressed a coin into the man's palm and withdrew. His face, as we stepped again into the fog, was alight with that peculiar satisfaction he reserved for a trail that had grown warm. Holmes, you look as though the game were afoot.
Indeed, Watson, it is. A foreigner with a limp, employing a phosphorescent device and targeting a clerk in the Foreign Office. Already the outlines of the picture begin to form. The next step will be to examine Mr. Phelps's position more closely. There may be documents he has handled in recent weeks which are of value to a foreign power.
And so, when we returned to Baker Street, Holmes set about interrogating Mr. Phelps with relentless precision, drawing forth every detail of his duties, the documents entrusted to him, and the colleagues with whom he had contact.
There was perhaps one matter, a memorandum concerning new telegraph codes, of which I made a fair copy for my superior. It was not of great importance, or so I thought.
On the contrary, Mr. Phelps, to a foreign agent, new codes are of supreme importance. A single cipher broken, and whole networks may collapse. This suitcase, therefore, may be either a lure or a warning.
A warning, Holmes, but from whom and to what end?
That, Watson, is the heart of the mystery. Was the glowing case meant to frighten our client into silence, or to draw him into some trap? Until we open it, we cannot say. But rest assured, we shall open it when the time is right.
Thus part 2 of the affair concluded, with the suitcase still locked upon our table, glowing with its eerie light, while Holmes's mind whirled with deductions, and I, for my part, could only marvel at the strange net of intrigue into which we had been drawn. The suitcase remained upon our sitting room table, like a silent sentinel, its glow casting strange shadows upon the bookshelves and the familiar clutter of our Baker Street lodgings. For 3 nights, it had pulsed with that uncanny radiance, yet Holmes had resisted the temptation to force the lock. His restraint, I must admit, was a source of frustration to me. though he assured me repeatedly that patience was as necessary in detection as courage upon the battlefield.
Watson, to fling open this case without precaution would be the act of a fool. It may contain documents of state, or it may contain something designed to destroy those who pry. Only by approaching it scientifically can we assure both safety and certainty.
I grant you the necessity of caution, Holmes, yet I confess the suspense has gnawed at me most cruelly. I feel as though that case has watched us these 3 nights, like a beast crouched in the corner.
A beast, perhaps, but a chained one, my dear fellow. Let us unchain it with the proper tools.
On the morning of the fourth day, Holmes dispatched a telegram to a colleague of his acquaintance at St. Z. Bartholomew's laboratory requesting certain apparatus. Cois. By afternoon, these had arrived: rubber gloves, a set of delicate forceps, a shallow basin of sand, and a large bell jar of thick glass. The appearance of these objects did little to soothe Mr. Phelps, who paced the carpet with restless steps.
Mr. Holmes, if it is indeed some infernal device, I fear the consequences of meddling with it. Should we not rather consign it to the authorities?
And thereby warn those very persons who may be seeking to undermine your department? No, Mr. Phelps. To thrust this into official hands would be to lose all chance of independent deduction. The matter is safest here, where science and reason may probe it undisturbed.
Could not but admire the calmness with which Holmes prepared his experiment. He placed the suitcase carefully within the basin of sand and lowered the glass bell jar over it. The eerie glow shone dimly through the curved surface, giving the whole contrivance the appearance of some monstrous specimen preserved in a laboratory.
Now, Watson, observe. I shall attempt first to test for fumes. A fine puncture through the lever with this hollow needle, and we shall know whether anything volatile lies within.
He worked with steady hand, flicking the side of the case and attaching the needle to a small tube which led into a dish of clear water. For several minutes we watched, breathless, but no bubble rose, no vapor escaped.
Satisfactory. There is no gaseous trap. The next test is for weight. Watson, lift it gently.
I did so, and was surprised to find it heavier than I expected. It must be full of something dense, Holmes. It is far too heavy for papers alone.
Precisely. That tells us much. Now, for the lock. Observe the workmanship. It is common brass, of a type sold at many shops, yet it has been oiled recently. That suggests it was sealed only a short time ago. Very well. We shall open it under the jar. Stand ready, Watson.
With deft movements, Holmes inserted his pick and worked the mechanism. The click of the lock releasing echoed unnaturally in the silence. He withdrew the pick and with slow deliberation lifted the lid of the case beneath the safety of the bell jar. Once the glow burst forth more fiercely, flooding the jar with a greenish light that illuminated Holmes's sharp profile like a lantern held from within. Good heavens, Holmes!
Saints preserve us.
Within the suitcase lay a strange object, a box of polished metal, upon which were set a series of glass tubes filled with some luminescent substance. Tubes glowed with steady brilliance, and tiny wires ran between them to a small coil of copper at one side.
Remarkable. An electrical phosphorescent apparatus, quite ingenious. Someone has contrived to sustain the glow by a concealed battery and a chemical compound. This is no ordinary contrivance, but the work of an expert in experimental physics.
But why encase such a thing in a suitcase and deliver it to our client?
That is the heart of the puzzle, Watson. Observe further beneath the apparatus lies a bundle of papers. Yes, here they are.
Holmes drew forth several documents sealed with red tape. He spread them upon the table by Mr. Why, Mr. Phelps bent forward anxiously.
My God, those are drafts of the telegraph code. They should be in the custody of my superior, yet here they lie before me.
Indeed, it seems, Mr. Phelps, that you have been made the unwilling custodian of contraband of the highest order. Whoever placed this case in your hands intended you to be suspected of theft should the papers be discovered. It is a trap most devilish in its cunning.
Then our client stands in grave peril, Holmes. If the authorities knew of this, suspicion would fall upon him at once.
Precisely, which is why we must move swiftly. Already the trail grows cold. The cabman's employer, the foreigner with the limp, is the key. We must identify him before he strikes again.
But what of the apparatus? What am I to do with these cursed documents?
Leave them in my keeping, Mr. Phelps. Yeah, they shall be restored to their rightful place once I have traced the chain to its origin. As for the apparatus, it is a signal. Make no mistake. The glow was intended to be seen, perhaps by an accomplice watching from without your window. He would know the case had reached its destination.
Then we were ourselves observed, Holmes?
Possibly. Baker Street is not immune to eyes in the dark. We must therefore act as though every move is watched.
The thought sent a chill through me. To think that even in our sanctuary we might be under surveillance was unnerving indeed. Holmes, however, seemed invigorated by the challenge.
Watson, you will accompany me this evening. There is a man in the East End, an electrician of dubious reputation, who may have had the skill to construct such a device. His name is Zacharias Holt. If my deductions are correct, he may also limp.
Then tonight we hunt our quarry.
Tonight, my dear fellow, the game is truly afoot.
Thus it was that, as dust settled over London, Holmes and I ventured forth into the labyrinthine streets of Whitechapel Court. The fog hung low, and the gas lamps glowed dimly through the haze. We moved swiftly, Holmes with his collar turned up and his keen eyes darting from shadow to shadow. At length we reached a narrow alley where a crooked sign proclaimed Holt & Co. Electrical apparatus. So, the shop was shuttered, yet a faint light showed through the cracks. Holmes knocked sharply.
Open in the name of business.
Who's there? I kick no else for strangers.
A fellow in need of certain luminescent compounds, Mr. Holt. Or shall I call you by another name, the limping gentleman of King's Cross?
There was a sudden scraping within. Then the door opened a crack. A man stood revealed, thin as a whip, his left leg dragging slightly as he shifted his weight. His face was pale, his eyes quick and suspicious.
You're mistaken, sir. I am no cab haunter.
Mistaken? Then perhaps you can explain why the phosphorescent mixture in your window display is identical in spectrum to that found upon the suitcase handle of Mr. Arthur Phelps.
Holt started visibly, his eyes darting to left and right, as though seeking escape. Holmes, he means to flee.
Not while your stout frame blocks the door, Watson. Mr. Holt, I suggest you come quietly, for I assure you the net is already around you.
You meddle in affairs beyond your ken. Do you think you can stop what has already begun?
That remains to be seen. You will accompany us to Baker Street, where you will answer certain questions. Refuse, and I hand you to Scotland Yard this very night.
The man glared at Holmes, but at last his shoulders sagged in resignation. With a limp more pronounced than before, he stepped into the street. Thus we secured our first tangible suspect, though what further secrets he might reveal was yet to be determined. It was with no small sense of triumph that Holmes and I returned to Baker Street with our reluctant companion, Zacharias Holt. The man shuffled along beside us, his limp accentuated by every step, his pale face betraying a mixture of defiance and dread. The fog still clung to the city, muffling the sound of the hansom wheels, so that it seemed we travelled in some spectral procession. Mr. Arthur Phelps awaited us anxiously in our rooms, his eyes widening in astonishment at the sight of our prisoner.
Good heavens, Mr. Holmes, who is this?
A man of science, Mr. Phelps, though his talents have strayed from the laboratory into darker employments. Mr. Zacharias Holt, known in certain circles as an electrician of ingenuity and known to us as the builder of the phosphorescent device we discovered within your suitcase.
He denied his guilt when we confronted him, Holmes.
Naturally, Watson. A guilty man seldom proclaims himself so at threshold, but denial is a fragile shield against deduction. Now, Mr. Holt, sit here by the fire, and let us converse plainly.
Holt dropped heavily into the chair, his long fingers twitching upon his knees. His eyes flickered nervously toward the bowing suitcase still under the bell jar upon the table.
You built that apparatus, did you not? Do not waste our time with falsehoods. The spectrum of your phosphorescent compound matches it precisely. The copper coils are of a design peculiar to your shop. The evidence is irrefutable.
And if I admit it, what then? A man must eat, and there are those who pay handsomely for my skills.
Indeed, but in this case, your payment has placed an innocent clerk under suspicion of treachery. For whom do you work? That is the question.
I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you.
Cannot or will not.
Call it what you like. You do not know the men who stand behind me. To speak their names is to sign my own death warrant.
And yet, to withhold them may sign another's. Consider carefully. The telegraph codes within that case are of supreme importance to the government. Their theft could plunge this nation into disaster. Do you wish to be remembered as the man who unmade his country for the sake of a few coins?
You speak as though I had choice in the matter. I was approached, compelled. Wahan, the man with the limp. You think me he, but there is another. He is my master, not I.
Another limping man? Then who are you, if not the figure seen at King's Cross?
I am but the artificer. The true director of this business is a foreign agent, a man they call von Kruger.
At last, a name. Von Kruger Watson. You may recall that I mentioned a German operative active in London these past months. His methods are subtle, his agents well placed. If Holt speaks truth, we have stumbled upon his scheme.
But why target me? I am of little consequence at the Foreign Office.
Precisely, Mr. Phelps. You were chosen because you are obscure. A packet of codes disappearing from the desk of a senior official would cause an uproar. But to paste them upon a minor clerk who better to serve as scapegoat? When discovery came, suspicion would fall upon you, leaving the true thief unsuspected.
A plot most devilish, Holmes.
Indeed, Watson. Holt, your silence will not shield you. Von Kruger uses you as he uses all his instruments. Speak now, and perhaps you may escape the noose.
After a long pause. Very well. He may already suspect me compromise. I will tell you what I know. Von Kruger commanded me to construct a glowing device as a signal. The light was to shine through Mr. Phelps's window, visible to watchers in the street. Its purpose was not only to frighten him, but to confirm to Von Kruger's associates that the codes had been delivered.
A signal, just as I suspected. Go on.
That is all. I was to deliver the device through an intermediary. Beyond that, I know nothing.
You know more than you confess, Holt. Von Kruger is not a man to trust secrets to common workmen. You have been closer to him than most. Where is he now?
Hesitating, he has a safe house. In Limehouse, by the river. But if I tell you more, I'm a dead man.
You are already in peril, Holt. Better to stand with us than against us.
Holmes's words, spoken in that quiet yet commanding tone of his, seemed to strike Holt with irresistible force. The man buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. Holmes, the fellow is undone.
Precisely as intended, Watson. Fear has loosened his tongue. He will give us what we require.
And so it proved. In sobs, Holt confessed that von Kruger had arranged to leave London by packet boat within 3 days, carrying with him the cipher codes and other intelligence. Other intelligence. Anything throws. The Limehouse safe house was his base until departure.
Then we must act at once, Mr. Holmes. If he escapes with those codes,
He shall not escape, Mr. Phelps. The matter is in hand, but secrecy is paramount. Scotland Yard must not be involved until we have evidence so overwhelming that von Kruger cannot wriggle free. Lestrade is an able man, but subtlety is not his forte.
Then you intend that we ourselves should confront him?
We, Watson, and Mr. Holt here, who will guide us. His usefulness has not ended yet.
You would march me to my doom.
Not so. You shall march to your redemption. Assist us, and you may yet earn clemency. Fuse, and I wash my hands of you.
Holt droned but at last nodded. The die was cast. Holmes then turned his keen gaze upon Mr. Phelps.
As for you, sir, you must remain hidden. Should word reach von Kruger that his stratagem has failed, he may seek to silence you outright. Watson and I will face the danger. Your duty is to survive it.
I can but obey, though it grieves me to be idle while you hazard your lives.
Not idle, Mr. Phelps. You shall keep the suitcase under watch. Its contents are the bait, and von Kruger may yet attempt to reclaim them.
And so our plan was laid. That night, after a hurried meal, we set out once more into the misty streets, Holt limping between us, hey, taving. The journey to Limehouse was long and silent, each of us absorbed in his own thoughts. I confess my heart beat faster with every step, for the East End at night was a place of shadows and menace. At last we reached a row of warehouses by the river, their windows dark, their walls streaked with soot. Holt led us to a narrow door half hidden between two structures. He whispered that within lay von Kruger's refuge. Holmes pressed his ear to the wood, then signaled me to ready my revolver.
He is within. I hear the creak of boards, the rustle of papers. Steady now, Watson. We go in together.
The sudden thrust, Holmes pushed open the door, and we burst into the dim interior. A single lamp burned upon a desk, where a tall man with an iron grey beard sat bent over a pile of documents. He sprang up at our entry, revealing a heavy cane upon which he leaned. His limp was unmistakable. His eyes flashed with fury as he recognized Holt at our side.
Traitor, you have led them here.
Herr von Kruger, I believe you will not leave this room with those papers.
Foolish Englishman, do you think you can bar the will of the Kaiser's service?
I think I can bar the will of any man who sets foot in London to sow treachery. Watson, guard the door.
The confrontation had reached its climax. Von Kruger's hand darted toward a drawer, but Holmes was quicker. In an instant, he had seized the German by the wrist and wrenched the cane from his grasp. Corpse scattered across the floor. Holt cowered in the corner while I leveled my revolver at the scene. Move again, sir, and I fire.
You have not won yet. There are others.
Perhaps. But tonight, Herr von Kruger, the game is lost.
And thus part 4 closed, with the notorious agent cornered, the stolen codes scattered at his feet, and the fate of nations trembling in the balance. The scene in that dim Limehouse warehouse remains etched upon my memory with peculiar vividness. The flickering lamp cast distorted shadows upon the walls, the papers of state lay strewn across the floor, and how von Kruger stood, a snarling embodiment of defiance, restrained only by Holmes' iron grip upon his wrist. Holt whimpered in the corner, and I kept my revolver steady, though my hand trembled with the weight of the moment.
Enough theatrics, Herr von Kruger. You are caught in the act, and there will be no convenient escape through law or loophole. The stolen codes are here. Your accomplice has confessed, and your limp betrays you, as the figure observed at King's Cross. The web is woven tight.
You think your petty deductions will save England? For every agent you catch, 10 more arise. The suitcase was but one instrument among many.
Perhaps. Yet even the mightiest machine fails when a single cog is removed. Tonight, sir, you are that cog.
Von Kruger struggled fiercely, but Holmes's grasp was unyielding. At length the man sagged, his fury giving way to resignation. Holmes, shall I summon the yard?
Presently, Watson, but first we must gather every scrap of evidence. Von Kruger, sit. You will dictate an account of your dealings with Mr. Holt, and you will sign it.
You expect me to write my own condemnation?
I expect you to calculate. Refuse, and you face charges of espionage, forgery, and theft. Comply, and perhaps diplomacy will temper justice with mercy.
Thus, with a muttered curse, the German seated himself at the desk. Holmes placed pen and paper before him, and paper before him. Reluctantly, he began to scrawl, his heavy hand moving in jagged strokes. While he wrote, Holmes turned to me.
Watson, note the ingenuity of the scheme. By placing the suitcase in Phelps's hands, von Kruger ensured that suspicion would fall upon an innocent. The glow was not mere theatrics. It was a signal visible from the street to confirm to his watchers that the bait had been accepted.
And had we not intervened, Phelps would have been denounced as traitor when the codes were discovered in his possession.
Precisely. The most effective traps are those which require no lies, only appearances.
Von Kruger completed his reluctant confession, signed it with a flourish of contempt. Woho, how, and cast the pen aside. Holmes gathered the papers, folded them neatly, and secured them within his pocket.
Excellent. And now, Watson, kindly escort our prisoner to the yard. Inspector Lestrade will be in want of a feather for his cap.
You do not accompany us, Holmes.
CD, no, my dear fellow. I have yet one last visit to make to reassure our unfortunate client and to restore to the Foreign Office what is rightfully theirs. Go on, Watson. I shall rejoin you anon.
And so it was that I, with Holt shuffling ahead and Von Kruger glowering behind, conveyed our captives through the foggy streets to Scotland Yard. Lestrade received them with astonishment not unmixed with glee, for to net so prominent an agent was a triumph indeed. By the time I returned to Baker Street, Holmes had already concluded his arrangements with Phelps. The suitcase, stripped of its sinister contents, sat innocently upon the hearthrug, no longer glowing but seeming almost embarrassed by its notoriety.
Mr. Holmes, I am in your debt beyond words. My honor is preserved, my career rescued from ruin. How may I repay you?
By forgetting this affair ever occurred, Mr. Phelps. Silence is your safeguard. The fewer who know how close England came to betrayal, the stronger her position remains.
Then I shall speak of it to no one, but permit me to grasp your hand in gratitude.
Very good. Now, return to your duties with renewed vigor and let the shadow of this episode fade.
With tears in his eyes, Phelps departed. Holmes sank into his armchair, steepled his fingers, and closed his eyes. I watched him for some moments before my curiosity overcame restraint. Holmes, I must beg you, explain to me fully how you unraveled this enigma, for though I followed your steps, much still eludes me.
Very well, Watson. You recall the beginning, the suitcase thrust into Phelps' hands by a cabman. The first deduction was elementary. The cabman was no cabman at all, but an accomplice. His limp identified him later as von Kruger himself.
But why risk appearing in person?
Because trust is rare among conspirators. Von Kruger would place the evidence only with his own hand. He calculated that a humble clerk, confused by the sudden burden, would carry it home unexamined.
And the duo?
A masterpiece of intimidation. Most men, confronted with such unnatural light, would fear to touch the object. It kept Phelps at bay until discovery could be contrived. Moreover, it served as signal to watchers outside. The device was Holt's work, as you saw.
You perceived his hand in it from the first?
Indeed. The phosphorescent residue upon the suitcase handle was of a compound rare outside Holt's shop. I confirmed it by spectral analysis before we confronted him.
And the weight of the case led you to suspect concealed apparatus?
Exactly. Documents alone could not account for such heaviness. The coil and batteries explained it perfectly.
Your patience in waiting 3 days before opening the lock, was that to test whether the duo was RM full?
Just so. Never meddle with an unknown device until you have examined it from every angle. Too many detectives, Watson, rush to the dramatic and perish in the attempt. Science first. Action after.
He spoke with such calm certainty that I could not but marvel anew at his method. Truly, Holmes's genius lay not merely in brilliance, but in discipline. One question remains. How did he know Von Kruger's refuge lay in Limehouse?
That, my dear fellow, was Holt's contribution, though coaxed by careful pressure. But even without his confession, I had my suspicions. Limehouse has long been a warren for foreign agents. Its proximity to the river offers swift escape. When Holt hesitated, I supplied the answer, and he confirmed it.
And now the affair is ended?
For the present, Von Kruger will be exchanged in due course, as such matters often are. Hart may find himself in prison or under protection. depending upon the mercy of the courts. Phelps resumes his quiet post, and England sleeps, unknowing of the peril it escaped.
And you, Holmes?
I return to my violin and perhaps to my monograph on the ashes of exotic tobaccos. Life, Watson, is a pendulum swinging between the excruciatingly dull and the supremely stimulating. This case has been of the latter sort. How?
Then I count myself fortunate to have shared it.
As do I, my dear Watson. Your revolver and your loyalty are as indispensable to me as any chemical reagent.
He smiled faintly, and for a moment the keen mask of the detective softened into human warmth. It was a fleeting glimpse, but one I treasured. Thus ended the strange adventure of the glowing suitcase, a tale of treachery and cunning, of science twisted to dark ends, and of one man's unfaltering genius which turned the tide. Many more cases awaited us in the years to come, but never again did I see such a curious contrivance, nor such a perilous plot balanced upon so small and glowing an object.